Hello everyone, my name is Nikhil. Welcome to Salesforce Musketeer channel. In today's video, we are just going to cover theoretical part of some of the topics. We are not going to see any demo. These topics are very important if you are looking forward to identity and access management exam provided by Salesforce. I would highly recommend you to go through these topics and this will really help you to clear the exam. So first of all, we need to understand these two important licenses. One is identity only and second is external identity license. So identity only license are provided to employees. I've kept these two words in bold. When it comes to external identity, then it's for customer, where it gives the flexibility to customer to self-register, log in, update their profile, and secure access the web and mobile application with single identity. When it's a case of employees, and if they need identity services such as single sign-on, then in that case go with the identity only. But you want these employees to be able to sign in into your custom your web application directly from Salesforce org using SSO, and you don't want any other functionality or service of Salesforce to be used for by those employees, then go with the identity only license. So if you see, I know it's not zoomed in, but you can see on the right two columns which are blank. If you give identity only or external identity license, then you don't have access to common objects like in the sales cloud, for example, accounts or opportunities, or in service cloud like cases. But in other licenses, you get access to those objects. Now, what is Identity Connect? Some questions can be asked in IA exam using for Identity Connect. Else, I think you have to go through all my videos in Salesforce Musketeer before you understand these Identity Connect, because in delegated authentication, I have mentioned about LDAP and Active Directories and all in detail. After you go through those videos, then you need to learn what is Identity Connect. So it integrates Microsoft Active Directory user account with Salesforce user record. When a user account is created or updated in Active Directory, Identity Connect push those updates to Salesforce user record seamlessly and instantaneously. For example, when a user is created in AD, the Salesforce user record is created as a part of provisioning process. When deprovisioned, user Salesforce session is revoked immediately. As we know, we can't delete a user, so they revoke the session. You can also use Identity Connect for single sign-on to Salesforce. So basically, Identity Connect helps you to keep user records in sync in your Microsoft Active Directory as well as Salesforce user records. What is CORS allow list? So CORS means cross origin resource sharing, which allows web browser to request resources from other origin. For example, using CORS, the JavaScript for a web application, any website where the JavaScript is there, it can request a resource from Salesforce. To allow access to the supported Salesforce API, Apex REST, and lightning out from JavaScript code in a web browser, add the requesting origin to your Salesforce CORS allow list. I'm just covering some random topics. Those topics are independent of each other. So what is multi-factored, or it's also called two-factor authentication with security layer? I'll go to the Salesforce guide link where we will see about it. So one thing to important here is that there are two types of security session. One is standard or high assurance. So you can enable multi-factor authentication using the security level, either standard or high assurance, assigned to a login method in your Salesforce settings. To require MFA for a user assigned to a particular profile, edit the session security level required at a login profile setting. Then set your session security level to apply the policy for particular login methods. So multi-factor, one example of MFA is like when you log into a Salesforce, they ask you to also go to your mobile app and get the authentication code from there and provide it in the Salesforce, or they give you the OTP on your mobile and you have to add the OTP to log in into Salesforce. So after user credential is added, then second authentication needs to be provided. That's multi-factor authentication. So how you can do this? You need to go to a profile for a particular, if you want any particular profile, all the users belonging to profile have MFA enabled. So what you will do is go to setup, go to a profile, and in profile, scroll to a session setting and find the session security level at login setting and select high assurance. So for that particular profile, let's say I have a profile, sales rep Dallas. So sales rep Dallas, all the users belonging to that profile have to provide the second factor authentication. So from setup, we also need to go to session setting in the quick find box, and in there we need to make sure that multi-factor authentication is high assurance. If it is in standard, if we put it in the standard and a profile already has high assurance, then user might not be able to log in. They will get error. So you have to make sure uh, any profile, if you set that to high assurance, you have this setting also enabled. This is a very good example. Some of the questions in IAM can be related to this or similar to this. So what they're saying is, if you have Facebook and LinkedIn as an authentication provider in your site, and many of your site members use social sign-on login to using username and password from their Facebook or LinkedIn. You want to increase security by requiring customer to use MFA when they log in within their Facebook account. You want user who logs in with their LinkedIn account to be automatically granted high assurance access. So what they are saying is that when you log in through Facebook, then they will ask for the second factor authentication, but through LinkedIn they will directly log in. So what you will do is in high you will go to this in the customer user profile, you will go to that profile, go to session security level, and then go to this high assurance, and you will move the LinkedIn to it. So it means LinkedIn, when you log in through LinkedIn, it will not ask you to give the second factor authentication, but through Facebook it will ask. So let's proceed forward to the next topic. So you can restrict access to certain type of resources based on the security level associated with authentication method for user current session. By default, each login method has one of the two security level, which I said standard or high assurance. You can change the session security level and define policies so that specified resources are available only to user assigned a high assurance level. So basically certain type of resources, it means, for example, reports or dashboards. You want reports or dashboards to be seen only to those users who are authenticated by two factor, or by they are authenticated as high assurance. So only for those users you want reports to be seen, but for any other session security level which is standard, you don't want. So these, depending upon the login method, you can have certain type of resources available. We will see through this link how we can achieve this. First of all, I would like to thank author of this blog, Sandy, who wrote this wonderful blog for us to understand this topic. Salesforce require high assurance identity verification before read, report, export, or print. Did you know that you could increase the session security setting to high assurance when user attempts to export or print Salesforce report data? She neither, and now we also got to know how we can do it. So you need to go to identity verification, and in there, if you see, on there are multiple resources, like you can, where you can set the setting. So for example, reports and dashboard, you can set this setting, raise session to high assurance when exporting or printing. So what happens if this setting is enabled? User are prompted for additional identity verification method when accessing or attempting to export, report, and print dashboard, like this. Once verified, the user is then allowed to view or export, print the data from report or dashboard. With the help of identity verification history, you can see every time a user attempts to export or print data. Previously, you could require a high assurance session to access resources like dashboard connected, and now to give your final access control, you can also require high assurance session to restrict access to export and print reports. If you enable this feature when a user with standard security session When a user with standard security level session tries to export or print a report, Salesforce prompts the user to log in again. Based on the login method associated with high assurance security level, once the user completes the login flow, the user can export or report the data. So based on the setting, we can either ask them to re-log in with the high assurance, or we can simply restrict them not to see any reports or dashboard. So we can achieve this through this session security and raise session to high assurance. And there's another option of also blocking. We will also see that. See, you can also choose from none, block, or raise session to high assurance, or raise session to high assurance for exporting. So these are 1, 2, 3, and 4 options. Let's go to the another blog and let's see what it says. This is another blog which I liked, which says something about session security level. Restrict certain type of resources based on their level of security associated with the authentication for a user's current session. Each login has one of two such security levels, standard or high assurance. So user's current session could be standard or high assurance. We can define policies so that specified resources are available only to user assigned with the high assurance level. For sensitive operation, require a high assurance level of security to block user altogether. If user already have high assurance session after logging in, they are not prompted to re-verify their identity, even if you require high assurance for these operations. By default, all authentication methods, username, password delegated, and password SAML, they have value of standard except two-factor authentication. Be caution about changing the security level of two-factor authentication or to standard. If two authentication, we actually read this. If two-factor authentication has a standard level but the user profile settings session security level require a login at high assurance, then user can't log in. We saw that in the document on Salesforce. The security level of SAML can also be specified using session level attribute. This is very important for any enabling a SAML, that you can specify a session level attribute of SAML that it's a standard or high assurance. Now this is very important. Report or dashboard. Reports or dashboard, Salesforce and connected app use session level security. You can set policies require a high assurance on these type of resources. You can also specify an action to take when a session used to access the resource is not high assurance. You can block access to a resource by showing an insufficient privilege error. Raise session level. Prompt user to complete two-factor authentication. When user authenticates successfully, they can access the resource. For reports and dashboards, you can apply this action when user access reports or just when they export and print them. Raise the session level to high assurance by redirecting the user to complete to is not supported action in Lightning experience. Now we'll go to the another slide. Now this is another topic, and I copied this data from the one of the blogs, where we need to understand what is relate state versus redirect URI. So if you go through all my identity access management related videos in my YouTube channel, you will see that I have used redirected URI. One sec. So I've used redirected URI in authorization code flow. So whenever I create a connected app, I have provided this redirect URI. So redirect URI is from OAuth and relay state is from SAML. So they are not related. So basically they are apple and oranges. So we should not even compare them. So you will see them together in the same flow. You will not see them together in the same flow with an exception of extremely rare case when a SAML flow is triggered by an OAuth flow or vice versa. After user successfully authorize an application, the authorization server will redirect the user back to the application with either an authorization code or access token code. The destination of this redirect is taken from the redirect URI. So if you remember, when we sent a request to the authorization with the response type as a code to authorization endpoint, we get back the authorization code to the redirect URI. So it comes in the redirect. It comes to the page what was mentioned in redirect URI with the authorization code, and then you fetch that authorization code to get the access token. So that's the purpose of redirect URI. But relay state is something different. So it is used to communicate state when the message is passed to from identity provider and service provider. The SAML spec requires relay state to be an opaque value of 80 character with no further specification. Therefore, what happens on service provider side after it reads relay state is implementation dependent. A popular implementation is to use relay state for so-called deep linking. Very important term, deep linking. So basically, if you are looking for a resource account or something, you want to reach to a specific account or a page on your Salesforce, then you can give the URL of that account or to in a relay state. So after a successful authentication, your specific that account will be opened. So that specific URL you have to provide in a relay state. It's a deep link. So it's called deep linking by encoding a destination. See, destination URL as its value, when a service provider will issue a redirect to destination URL that came in a relay state. It will open the desired page after authentication. Now, what is SSL? It's a security socket layer. It's a very, actually, it's a big topic, but I'll just give you the very brief. So, it's a standard security technology for establishing an encrypted link between server and client. It's a security protocol that provides end-to-end security of data between application over the internet. Example, HTTPS. So S means that it's SSL, like it's secure. If it is HTTP, it means it's not secured. So we have to make sure our all websites are HTTPS. So what does it SSL actually mean? So if a date when you open a website, so when you request any website to be displayed on your browser, so there's a communication happening between a browser and the server where that website resides. So for example, I opened the Bank of America website, and then I provided a username and password. All that information will go from my router to the web server. So what will happen in that case is that data has to be encrypted. Otherwise, a man in the middle, like for example, a man sitting outside my home, or somewhere who can hack the internet in the middle, then they can get fetch my information and use my username and password for his own interest. But we can encrypt that data between my browser till to the server by using SSL, and it helps. And SSL, what happens is there are two types: asymmetric and symmetric way of securing your data. We'll just go with the asymmetric. Sorry, we'll go with the symmetric. So what will happen is the server sends a copy of its SSL certificate, including server public key. Certified authority for public private keys are, these are examples, semantic geotos. There are many which are certified authorities. So if a browser trusts the certificate, browser has a list of certified authorities. So when server sends the SSL security certificate, then it creates, encrypts, and sends back a symmetric session key using the server's public key. So using the public key which it gets from a server, it creates a key and send it back to the server. Now server has your session key, and the browser has a server's public key. Now what will happen? Server decrypts the symmetric session key using a private key and send back an acknowledgement with the session key to start the encrypted session. After that, server and browser now encrypt all transmit data with the session key. SSL is renamed to Transport Layer Security after SSL in 1990. So it is also known as Transport Layer. I have written in very brief. For more understanding, there are better videos in YouTube channel. If you want to go, you can deep uh, you can dive deep in to understand the SSL. So basically, what it takes care of integrity, it takes care of authentication and confidentiality in data transmission. Now, what is mutual authentication? So when using mutual authentication, which means two-way SSL, Salesforce.com can present a self-signed certificate to a target host that must present a certified authority signed certificate to Salesforce, provided that this certificate has been configured in the target host. That's a mutual authentication. Key points for certificates: self-signed certificates are lower self sorry Self-signed certificates are lower to maintenance, or we say it has no maintenance cost. Self-signed certificates normally used for development testing purpose. Developer can create self-signed certificates for respective development tool. In Salesforce, we can create self-signed certificate, but before moving to production, you have to make sure that you have to get third-party certified authority certificate. This is normally used in case of custom domain for customer portal. When you're using customer domain for customer portal and any DNS, if you have registered a new domain, then you need to make sure that you added a certificate from a certified authority. The third party CA needs to be renewed every year so that it will be higher in maintenance over self-signed. CA certifies a lot of benefits over self-signed. Some of the no browser warning, revoke certificate anytime, increase customer trust, well authenticated request. If you don't provide any certificates, then your browser will come with the lock. If you open any URL without certificate, then you will see on the top of your browser that it is not secure. Now, what is login discovery? This is something, for example, client gives you a requirement where they want user to be logged in other than username and password. Now they want them to be logged in via phone number or email or some federation ID. Then you can uh, explore this option of login discovery. I think that's the end of my video. Best of luck for your exam, whoever is giving exam on identity and access management. Thank you.